Hello and welcome to the ToverTon podcast with me, your host, Abby Louise, and my co-host, Connor Chadwick. Hello.
Greetings. Still kind of in the Nidrack zone. How are you, Abatha?
I am tired.
Yes, we are in the aftermath of 60th productions.
Yes.
And we are very, very, very tired people.
Tired and burnt out. Especially as I was looking at, well, you're probably the same, to be fair. I was looking at the amount of scripts that both of us have to write.
Oh, God.
It's a bit ridiculous.
It is, but at the same time, like the problems with like deadlines and everything like that for the 60th stuff is all gone now.
Yeah.
So as a result, we can kind of make stuff to our own personal deadlines, not a deadline which is fixed.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, right now, at the moment, as we're recording this, we're only a couple of days away from the 60th anniversary itself. So at the moment, the Queer Doctor TT 60th came out 2 days ago.
Yeah.
About 10 views shy of 300 now.
Currently.
Done quite well, yeah. And obviously on Overton, we've been releasing the Prism 60th, which has had pretty decent reception as well.
Yeah.
That's a 3-part coming out weekly, but on this week particularly, it doesn't come out on the Saturday 25th. It's the Thursday 23rd.
Oh.
Because, yeah. But no, it's come on. That's it. And obviously, around that as well is also the Dwem, or the like the Dwem and Watforth Wall lot, making their Singularity 60th, where you're in it as the other Doctor you do, Constellation Doctor.
Constellation.
Which we've been planning for a little while anyway. That's coming out daily. Part 2 came out this evening as of recording this, with the final 5th part coming out on the 23rd. And an epilogue. Woo! But also, as well as that, the person who's scoring it, Jed T. Rhodes, has not finished scoring the final part yet. And part 3 is out tomorrow, and he's doing.
We like to live life on the edge.
Admittedly, the amount of work it's taken has been a massive, quick edit.
Oh yeah.
It's like it's a 5-parter, but each part is half an hour to 40 minutes. It's the length of a series. It's like a proper series. This.
Yeah.
And it's it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff going on. But speaking of 60th, dear Abatha,
hello.
Should we go to the conversation you had with Jim York about?
We should, yes, about the Queer Doctor 60th anniversary special, The Diamonds of Time.
I'm all ears.
And this is Donna Noble, the fastest typist in all of Chiswick.
What happened to her?
It's, complicated.
I see. So, you keep a log of everyone who has travelled with you?
Every single one.
And what would you say about me? Good things, I hope.
Cressida, a Silurian princess who's a little bossy and turns a dark green shade when jealous.
Excuse me. I resent that notion, Doctor. I learnt from the very best. Who's that?
That's Erin. Well, it was taken around the time we visited the British Museum. Good times, but now she's gone.
But she's not forgotten.
I suppose so. Now, where are those lover birds up to?
You can't spy on them.
Well, I just wanted to make sure they're safe. Cardiff 2005 is a little bit of a tricky year.
Quite peaceful for a city.
Why did the Doctor land here again?
Because Cardiff has a time rift. The Doctor says it can charge the TARDIS up, like a battery or something.
Battery?
Okay, it's like a source of energy. Yeah, you know, when you get hungry, you have food, right?
So that gives us time to have some private time without the private eyes of the Doctor. Or Cressida.
You are still a romantic after all this time. I wish you came and stayed in the TARDIS full time.
I know you do.
I worry you're gonna get tired of me. You're like, but we'll pick you up when you're old. With everything recently, I kind of missed you.
What about Ricky?
Guess I have to grow up and face the facts, really.
Then I guess there is only one thing left to do.
Wait, you mean... Blimey! Why does it always rain in Wales?
TJ, what is happening to the TARDIS?
What? We gotta warn the doc, quick! Doc! The TARDIS outside, it's crystallising.
What do you mean?
The outside is like forming like a bluish diamond, like it's growing out of the wood.
Could it be something to do with the rift?
No, rift energy is stable.
Then what in Valhalla is going on?
It's like the whole of reality is being crushed, but it's only focusing on the TARDIS. What, did you see that?
The TARDIS is going into autopilot?
But it's not making the sound.
The scales are off the charts. The TARDIS hasn't seen anything like this.
Hello and welcome back to the TT side of the ToverTon podcast. I am currently with our amazing, our brilliantly, fabulously talented James York, otherwise known as Jim. So when I call him Jim, don't get confused. So we will be talking about the TT's 60th. Now, James, you
Really?
wrote Zed's 60th, did you not?
I did wrote the 60th. And how on earth did I do it? That's my... Oh, yeah. No, I wrote... Yeah, it's... Oh, it's been a journey, hasn't it?
Been a bit of a journey.
Been a bit of a journey.
I think the thing that made it slightly easier, because, pardon me, so so when it all came around, because TT wise, I tend not to focus too much on the Who stuff, and that's more Jim's bag. So I basically was like, Jim, would you mind writing the 60th? And he was like, yeah, I'll do it for you, sort of thing.
And then the realization happened, and then suddenly I was like, shit.
Yes.
Shit. I'm going to not only have to write a story that is going to celebrate Doctor Who, but I need to think, right, I've got all of the TT Doctors, and I was just thinking, right, what if I do this? No. What if I do this? No. What if I do? And I was like, no, there's just too much going on. I thought, okay, let's make this simple. Let's have all the Doctors go onto this planet. And I just can remember just when it came to the writing process and just really trying to get a really good storyline, I was thinking, right, like I said, I wanted to celebrate Doctor Who in general, but also celebrate TT and the TT Doctors, you know, because that's, I think, is also a celebration in itself. And then kind of the idea of, I kind of wanted to do an allegory of certain things in the community where the whole thing of my doctor is better, or I'm going to make the best doctor ever, and that kind of thing.
Oh, good.
That's right. It's like cat.
No. My child decided to try and come in and disturb us, but I have shooed him away.
No,
I think the thing that kind of made it a little bit easier was we did decide to be like, oh, so this will be queer doctor focused. Yeah, and I think the fact that we kind of decided that we set it as the queer doctor, as a queer doctor episode, and then the other doctors happen to be there, kind of like what they did with the 5 Doctors, to be fair.
Basically, yeah. I mean, you kind of look at all the anniversary episodes, and it's always been the case of that we started. It's even in the era itself, it's a queer doctor episode, but
yeah,
it has all the other doctors, and I think that was what was very special and magical. Was the fact is that at the point, I think only Dickensian queer future, and I would want to say Chronicle was out at the time during writing, because
Chronicle was established, but I'm not sure he had any episodes out yet. But basically you wrote Metal and Agency because you had written Chronicle, but it wasn't out.
No.
Whereas nobody had written Metal or Agency
not
because
even
they weren't out yet.
No one, because nobody knew what Metal was. No, but like, and it was brilliant. It was, once I knew what I was doing, and once I got the flow of it, that was when the magic happened. That was when, okay, this is what we're doing. This is what it was great. And then, I'm not going to lie, I was nervous sharing the script to the other doctors. I was like,
we did have a bit of like a doctors meeting where we all just kind of went in and tweaked some lines a little bit so they matched our doctor more, and like tweaked scenes ever so slightly and stuff like that. There wasn't anything like massive. It was just more of a, would Metal do this, would Dickensian do that sort of thing, really, wasn't it?
And that's the thing, and that was what's the beauty of it, because, you know, at the end of the day, this is a multi-doctor story, so you have to kind of sort of say, look, this is their doctor. You have to kind of listen to them and really take the energy and really kind of say, look, I don't think my doctor would do this, given what I know, or like, you know, and it's vice versa. But overall, it was, the writing was smooth. The editing of the writing and getting everyone together was even smooth. We really got some fantastic ideas out there.
It's definitely obviously it's mainly your project, but it's definitely had a lot of elements of kind of working together, you know, collaboration about it.
Absolutely.
Especially when you get all the companions involved as well, you know.
That was my one thing I wanted to do, was to get at least a representation of a companion of each doctor's. Obviously with Dickensian that was going to be a little bit different, because I think at the time you didn't have a companion.
At the time I know there was a companion joining, but they hadn't been cast. So we kind of set this. So in December, there's an audio coming out with a collaboration with ToverTon. And in Dickensian's life, this is set just after that.
Yeah.
And then it leads on to the Logan stuff.
Yeah.
So Dickensian's timeline's all over the place, I think.
It's all over the place. But no, I think it's great. I think it's, like I said, it's a celebration of TT, and it's a celebration of all of our eras, so to speak. And the fact is that, look, we're not just one-note doctors. You know, there's so much color, so to, if you pardon the pun, you know, there's so much, you know, there's so much, you know, difference in the doctors, and how would they meet, how would they interact, and that was beautifully done.
And I think because we managed to get our Sixth Doctor audio out before the 60th came out, and it was quite nice to have a classic Doctor in it as well, because originally we were thinking of having one, weren't we? And then we changed it.
I wrote it as one, and then I believe as you suggested, hey, we've got a 6, could we possibly use it? And I do think 6 needs to get a little bit more justice, I think.
I feel like 6 suits our channel.
Yeah, 6 really suits our channel.
And Asa Holmes' impression as Chef's
I think
kiss.
it was, when I recorded with him, because he wasn't at the rehearsal, so I didn't know how he was really going to properly sound. But as soon as I heard it, I was like, yeah, no, this is perfect. I think I have edited his scene with Cressida and with Traxia, and it's sounding just absolutely amazing. Honestly, I think I'm excited to hear more of.
I'm excited for it to all get put together. At time of recording this, we're recording this the month before it comes out, so Jim is still editing away. So we're kind of predicting the future at this point.
I am at a good solid 40% completed. I would say.
Yeah.
like I said, I've got to get a few extra lines in from a couple of people, but apart from that, I'm literally just I'm
Smashing it.
bashing one scene at a time and just making sure it's sounding brilliant. I mean, again, we've also got a fantastic villain in Ian Harris.
Oh yeah, Ian as a villain is just perfect.
He's just brilliant, and he took. I said to him, play it like you're a spoilt brat who is wanting to change the world, because it's like you're a real spoilt brat and you're trying to play with someone's toys. And he's like, no, it's mine. That, that kind of mentality, that was what the Collector I had written as. So that was really interesting, that he really took that note. And
I think the thing I enjoy about our particular 60th is we've got an original villain. Because I know a lot of other 60th have gone for, like, the normal, like, Omega, Razalon, those sort of people, Master probably. Whereas we've got an original, which is quite nice, I think.
I think it's nice. I think it's nice to do that. I think, yes, you have, we have a Dalek in, that's absolutely fine. But that's a little cameo. I knew definitely I was wanting to make it an original villain. I knew it had to be something not slightly Time Lordy-esque, but not, he's not a Time Lord as such. Yeah. But I think that's the beauty, I think, of the 60th. I was going to be a little bit shady. At least we're not, trying to jam in all of the monsters all at the same time. I think that could be very difficult. And I'm not saying that people can do that for the 60th, because they can. But I think when you have this opportunity to write something, and to me it was about exploring, like, reviving the history. And we've got the ghosts and the scenes, like some very famous scenes that come along, and then we're also celebrating TT. We're celebrating our doctors.
I think that's quite an important bit, is the fact that we're kind of celebrating 2 years of being TT as well. So it's quite nice to kind of combine both anniversaries. And I do feel like that's been shown in this script, like you've been saying. We've got all of its original Doctors other than 6.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a celebration of both Doctor Who on telly and TT's kind of spin on Doctor Who.
Exactly. And I think it's great. Again, the rehearsals went really well. The recordings. There was
right. Remember the fact that we always point out that we record live, and obviously when you put a load of Doctor actors in a room together, there's many an ad lib, and I dread to think if any of these ad libs will actually make it in.
Some ad libs have come in, but there's one particular scene that, and especially, I'm kind of glad you're here. When Queer Doctor was rolling out the Spice Girls, and just without hesitation, I just, originally it was supposed to be, it was originally steampunk is scary. No.
And Jim said something completely different. Don't say it, but it sounds like
that. And unfortunately, for the solid 5 minutes, everyone was in hysterics. But that's what made it brilliant. That's what made it just absolutely. I was in fits of laughter. But we did. I think we should really pat ourselves to the back, because it is quite a lengthy script, and I think there's a lot going on, and I think we should be really proud that we managed to record everything in one night.
But no, it was fun. It was fun, and I really hope people enjoy our little kind of anniversary spin-off, which will be out by now, so I'm not going to give you a date, because it would have come and gone. But if you haven't listened to it and you've just listened to all these spoilers, why did you do that? But go ahead and listen to it, please.
Why? Why do you do this? Like,
I mean, the thing we because we've been a bit cheeky, because we put ours out a couple of days before the actual 60th. So I'm hoping that kind of we didn't kind of get stacked on all these 60ths and people.
I think that's the thing. I would rather it go out early enough so people can listen to it and have time to listen to the other
Yeah.
60ths and obviously watch the
Oh yeah, definitely go
the
listen
video.
to, like, because obviously we're going to be talking about it in this podcast as well. Overton's got one, Dwem's got one, Fourth Wall's got one. Everybody has a
Everyone's
60th.
got you get a 60th, you get a
Go
60th.
ahead, write your list out. It's like TT, Overton, Dwem, Fourth Wall. Go and
Yeah.
watch them all, because us two are involved in some of the other ones as well. So
Oh,
go
absolutely.
and listen, because all of them, all the scripts that we have been given have been outstanding. And on that
Absolutely.
note, I'm going to hand you back to myself and Mr. Connor Chadwick in the future. Bye bye.
Time travel. Oh.
And there we go. I hope you enjoyed that little chinwag with myself and James York.
I did.
Good.
Indeed. So, what other projects are coming out in November? So obviously there's one that we're going to talk about in a bit anyway, but we've had some short stories come out. We had actually a good one to mention will probably be After Trenzamore.
Yes.
That did quite well.
Yeah, that was a labour of love, that one. Yeah. So it's Jenny after the repercussions of being killed by Whispermen, because I like to traumatise that girl as much as I can.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those, we spoke about it briefly last time. It was one of those ones where a lot of people in the community helped with the audio, because we got them all to do parts of the Whisperman poem and put it at the start.
Mm. And then, as well as that, I can't remember how long ago we recorded the Halloween podcast, which was the last one we made. It must have been a while ago, because we had all the 60s coming up. We did it a bit as well. Did we talk about the Sixth Doctor adventures on the podcast?
I don't believe we did. No.
No, I think the exclusive look for Depths of Language had come out by then.
Yeah.
So obviously the trailer for the Queer Doctor 60th anniversary special came out, and we've just spoken about that. And then there was the Roses and the Water, which starred Asa Holmes as the Sixth Doctor, Joe Baker as Philippa
Jackson,
Dexter Harris as, wasn't it
Warren, yeah.
So why the Sixth Doctor? Why?
So basically I wanted to do some more like actual Doctors content, if that makes any sense, because when we first started,
more related to the series and the Doctor.
Yeah. When we first started, we were doing 8th Doctor audios, and I was like, I'd like to start doing that again, and found out that Asa could do a 6th Doctor impression. I can't remember why I needed a 6th Doctor.
Wasn't it the TT's 60th?
No, it was before.
I mean, I know another reason, but we haven't actually announced that project. So
no, I think that might have been what it was. Because we were looking in
without getting too much into spoilers, we were having to look at continuity bits, and then we had like a soundbite made.
That's what it was, yeah. So we were planning an audio that we won't talk about, which has got the 6th Doctor in it.
Not even written yet.
It's not even written yet. It's kind of planned, but other than that, but we found a particular speech that we thought would sound great as 6, and I was asking around, and I was asking if anybody knew a 6, and then Asa sent the line in as 6, and it was Chef's Kiss. So my brain went, well, let's do a 6th Doctor series, because obviously we've got someone who can do 6 now. So
in the same way
I know why it was. It's because Tusks of London, the snake in the sewers, the Mara. Because the Mara was in Tusks, and we needed the Doctor to get rid of the Mara, and that's how 6 started.
I suppose it's in the same vein that Overton Audios have Michael Cox, who plays the first Doctor. It's in that sort of same vein that, you know, I'm doing First Doctor Adventures. I'm doing the second volume with him in next month.
Yeah.
In the summer that I've got one, you've got 6.
Yeah.
So both, you know, 6 did represent himself from a certain Doctor.
Oh, 100%. You can see that. There's like spoilers actually. Well, not spoilers really. For our 60th originally, because 6 is in our 60th. Originally it was supposed to be 1, but I was like, well, we've got 6, so should we make it 6? And then James York was like, yeah, okay. And we literally didn't have to change any of the lines. All the lines still worked from 1 to 6, so that was quite nice. But so I love Lisa Greenwood as Philippa Jackson, and obviously
You also just love her.
Oh, I just love her in general. Yeah, she's amazing. She cracks me up. She makes me laugh. And she hasn't been able to do some work recently because she had long COVID, and I wanted to kind of fill that Philippa Jackson hole that was developing in my heart. So I asked Joanna Baker to come in and be Flip, because I people are getting fed up with my voice being in everything. So I thought I'd get
No, they're not.
for once. So
You haven't met the Overton brothers then. True. Oh no.
So
other things we've had come out. We obviously had
and sorry, 2 seconds.
Oh no.
No, Warren.
True.
So Warren's introduced in this new audio, and we're planning on doing a couple of adventures with that kind of a new TARDIS team, purely because we realised that 6 has never really travelled with a male. So I was like, well, why not throw a kid in? Because I feel like Colin would work well with a kid anyway. So yes, it'll be interesting to see the dynamic between the 3 of them. But yeah, there plans to be a couple of episodes with those 3, so look forward to that. Sorry, Connor, go on.
Oh, no, you're good. So as well as that, we also had the Queer Doctor Halloween special come out, which was called Too Little Too Early, which featured the guest star appearance of Dominic G. Martin as Ricky. That was an interesting one because I appear in it briefly for a couple of scenes, playing the character of Michael, who going, I found a projector in a bin. Also, here's a nice sofa. Why does it smell weird? It's also from the bin. And all this sort of stuff. But no, it was a nice little story. It was, you know, it's sort of, it reminded me of Tortured Out of the Rain with the film. They're watching old classic films from the era, set in the 50s, which is where TJ is originally from. And then monsters are coming to the projector allows the creatures in the movies to leave the film and interact. If you leave it on for too long, it gives them enough power to actually form. And you know, hint, hint, as to what happens there. But it's mainly a story about TJ and Ricky and their relationship and what went wrong, because TJ never entirely knew, because he accidentally goes back a bit too far back in time, crossing his own personal timeline.
Yeah.
But all he knows is that he doesn't really know what happened to Ricky, really.
Yeah.
Now he does.
Whoop, whoop.
But what did happen? Well, you'll have to watch it and find out. Now, the Depths of Language came out 2 weeks ago, as of recording.
It did.
That was an interesting one for me, at least. We have Chadbro reacts.
It's very different to anything else we've ever put on our channel. We were kind of being a little bit experimental with that one. So if you want something a little bit different, go and check that out, please. A bit of a scary Chadbro.
I lost myself in the sense of identity. I did though, didn't I? Do you remember? Like
yeah.
Like stop. What are you doing? Who are you? And I'm like, yo. And you're like,
no.
But you're ignoring me half the time. You're like, stopping.
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird.
But yeah, that, like, I don't want to give away too much, but that's also got a nice visual element to it, which is nice because again, it's a nice incorporation since we started doing some Minnesota filming and stuff this year. It's nice.
Yeah, trying to do more live actiony type stuff. Yeah,
and then of course we've had Reanimated episode 3, Curiouser and Curiouser.
Yes,
and
that's a fun one.
That one was
all I'm going to say about that one is calm before the storm.
good, but that's what I mean. It's like you've had episodes 1 and 2 take place one after the other with just the aftermath of the event. Now it's kind of taken a bit of a pause. Things aren't settled, but there's been a moment of calm, and this episode is very much character development, setting up the world a bit more, etc., which I think is still really good. And you can't just skip it, people. Don't skip it.
No.
It is valuable context, and it is a Blue Kazoo production.
Yeah, like I have no idea where Chelsea's taken the, like it's all
it used to be you two doing it, but now
you're
sort of leaning on the touched a bit more because you were originally alternating, but it's sort of changed where she's taking it in a direction and then you're taking touched in a different direction as well.
Pretty much. So now it's basically Chelsea's world, Chelsea's characters. So she's building all that up herself, basically. So even I'm none the wiser. All I know is calm before the storm. So fun times.
Yes, but then of course, what came out just afterwards was Hiding the Pride, which of course we've got a little behind the duvet.
Yes, we have. Should we give it a listen?
Yeah, why not? Oh wait, there's an old box here. Hang on, I'll move that. Oh, it's stuck.
Don't tempt fate and pull a muscle.
Oh.
Are you okay, sweetheart?
Yeah, I just tripped over, I think. But I'm alright.
Please be more careful or you'll come through the ceiling below.
Yeah. Sorry. My phone. The box opened. Some papers fell on me.
Disgusting, that must be quite old and musty by now.
Yeah, thanks for that. I'm the one up here. 1914. And these are letters.
From who?
It says O'Neill.
Oh, yes. Well, that helps narrow it down.
Well, it's from the 1910s. I think it's, well, letters from a soldier. Tommy. There's a picture.
Well, let's get the remaining boxes up there and you can bring that stuff down.
Hello and welcome to Behind the Duvet for Hiding the Pride. We are with most of the cast of Z Audio. We have got Connor, who played Michael. We have Jimmy, who played Anthony. We have Aidan, who played Captain Freddie. Rory, who played Ben. James, who played James.
Original.
Matt Tyrell, who plays Tommy O'Neill. And of course, Chelsea Lagan playing her amazing character who pops up in everything TT-wise, Molly O'Neill. Hello. Hello. Hello.
And we are presented by our wonderful director.
Hello. I wrote and directed this audio production. So we've just finished recording it. So how did you find recording? Really? Interesting.
It was shit. No, joking. Again, I think this is that I did get a lot of similar vibes from when we did R101. But I do think that it is, I don't know. Again, I think because this is a completely different caliber I think, acting wise, this is a purely historical. This is a pure historical,
Yeah.
and I just really enjoyed playing someone who was very commanding, and but there was something of a softness as well, and also to actually portray a spoiler alert death scene. Because I don't think I've ever had really a death scene in TT. I think.
Well, you died in R101. You're in the
Yeah, but
arms of
like,
Dominic G. Martin.
oh well,
Yes, you
You
go for the
can't say dying in the
sacrifices.
arms of somebody.
I get died in the arms of beautiful, handsome men. I mean,
It's just the way.
what
Yeah.
could be good?
So, what did you not think? Because the script was obviously, it wasn't just written by me; it was also written by Connor, Connor Chadwick, to use his full name. So I wrote the historical stuff, and Connor wrote the modern stuff. So, what were your initial thoughts when you were given the script once you'd read it? Because I know what you lot are like. Rory.
Oh, me. Hello. Yeah,
Hello.
I think it was incredible, really, because like I think the modern day perspective really adds a sort of it adds the modern day element kind of adds a sort of hindsight to it. It gives like looking back at how people were treated then compared to how people are treated now. It really ties it all together really well. I thought it the ending scene in particular when they're going to the moment of silence is really emotional. Yeah, I thought it was beautifully written. I think it was I thought it was really well written, really well done. Yeah.
Jimmy.
I really liked the flow between the two, as very much as Rory's just said. You have, it's quite good because you've got the sort of the past stuff. It is very sort of harrowing, and it's beautifully well written in terms of the different sort of attitudes of it. But I like the fact as well that I think, especially the historical stuff, I think there are scenes in there where you kind of, it's taken as read that people were less tolerant back then, but you've got a couple of times, especially in there, where you've got characters from that era turning around and saying, it's fine with me. And it does reflect on not everyone during that time was so bigoted and so close-minded. There were the people there who did understand, whether they were family, whether they were friends, or comrades in arms. They understood it, and it's kind of, I think it reflects well, probably something which I think is perhaps understated in history, that at that point they realized that kind of stuff doesn't matter anymore. We're all in the same boat here.
Yeah.
We're all soldiers. We're all on the verge of, we could die any day, and there's no point in us arguing amongst ourselves about trivial things like that when we're literally fighting for the world.
Yeah.
And I think it's nice to have that focus on there, because I think, like, with a lot of historical things like this, you really could have just sort of played into the sort of bigotry side of things, which I think a lot of historical things do, and that's it's nothing against that, because that's the way it was. But it's nice to have something like this to tell the other side of it. But then also it's nice to have the reactions of the modern day side of it as well, where, for example, the character that I play, Ant, is obviously, he's a bit blasé about everything initially, because it's kind of like, well, yeah, we know it happened, because I think a lot of people do have that attitude today, and it's kind of like, well, it did happen, there's nothing we can do about that. But I don't think a lot of people don't necessarily understand the significance of those historical moments, because everyone just thinks, yes, it was a bigoted time, and it's like, yes, it was, but that's why it's all the more important to focus on the good side of things. And and it's nice to have that sort of dynamic between the past day scenes and the present day scenes, just to sort of really, it covers both sides of the attitudes, whilst sort of also saying how even within that community the attitudes have changed. You see what I mean?
Connor, how was it writing all the modern stuff?
Well, when I came into the project, it had already been written by yourself, Abby, for the stuff set in the past. But I know it was a project that initially started off with yourself and James York.
Yeah, it was Jim.
Where James had already written some segments of it already.
Just expanded on it. Yeah.
Yeah, that effectively that's how I see it. I just saw and read through what James had written, and just sort of added to it, and just tried to sort of create, because I think it was at the time it was just about trying to make sure that the modern day stuff got had its own storyline as well with everything else, whilst of course in itself its main focus is on the war element. It was really good to explore the differences.
Yeah.
And obviously I know James very well. We've met up and had many coffees and many gossips. So like it's something that as well I also thought, and I'm a straight man writing this, so it was something for me that I was like, I want to make sure that it does justice, when I don't necessarily, I don't necessarily belong in that group because I'm straight. So it was something very much that obviously, James, you then came on in the capacity of basically having a look at the script after I'd done the script editing, and making sure that you were happy as well, because at the end of the day it's all about, like, I mean, it's all well and good me coming in and writing it from a perspective that I may understand from having seen people who have gone through those experiences, but I'm ultimately not someone who has gone through those experiences.
Yeah, I think it's a great. Again, when I read the modern scenes, I think it was really well done, because I think the natural or the kind of the stereotypical approach to have a gay couple in modern series is to either make their lives miserable, or to have that kind of still some obstacles to face. And pretty much so, just like any other couple, regardless of sexuality and gender, you're gonna get your ups and downs. You're gonna get people staring, and I really felt that way. And I think with the bits that I've written, I think Connor has beautifully really developed more of it, and has definitely focused on a lot of the human side. And again, even with the war side, there's a human element. This is not just, oh, let's do it's a queer story set in World War One. It's a human story that would happen to anyone, and it's beautifully done. I think this is really something that it's a story that needs telling as well.
Definitely. So, Aidan, you've been cast as a captain again. I keep doing that with you in the historicals, because he was the captain of the R101 as well. So, like, how does it feel doing another historical?
It's like the captain just was like, "Oh, step up for me, smoke break." An inferno.
Yes.
But I don't know. It was nice playing the free one, because I haven't done anything really like what army World War in a while. So it was nice to give this a go and kind of put on my, I guess, like, I like to call it my brigadier voice, because it's.
I love it whenever he has to do the should and what for. Like
should and what for. But I like the card, because like I was reading through the story and like the modern day stuff. Like, I'll go with the modern day stuff first before I go into the war stuff. I really liked how that story can develop between the two in the modern day. That, like, it's something very calm. Is he's just wanted to look through these letters, and it starts to unfortunately affect their relationship, and it's it starts to get into really deep things, and then I kind of you kind of get emotional, even though you're not the one doing lines. You're just reading through it and just being like, wow, like, I mean, I I have relations in my family who are in the homosexual community, and it's kind of like, I think you can think a lot of things when going into this, and when you get to the stuff with the war, you're going into a place where that's never really spoken about. And I did get a sense of it when my character talks to James's character. I was like, there was a one line where I was like, wait a minute, this I don't know, like that. I will admit here, I was like, does he know something, or does he not know?
I feel like Freddie's completely clueless. When there's a line when he's like, "Oh, well, it was just a marriage of convenience," and you're like, "Oh, yes, I understand." I think he's thinking like, "Oh, he knocked her up. She was pregnant, had to get married." Whereas obviously James is like, "No, that's you don't understand. You really don't get it."
I really had that. Yeah, I mean, I was really kind of looking at it like, Freddie just seems like that normal like corporal who's very kind of, we're gonna hit him hard, we're gonna do this work and whatever, and it's just, you know, he's very out of touch with what is going on with the soldiers, because like you really see these human elements with, like, you know, between, you know, obviously Tommy and James and what they're feeling. Then you have London, Sid, and trying to remember the next soldier.
Ben and Sherlock.
Ben and Sherlock, yeah, because Sherlock should be an easy one to be.
So family O'Neill.
Yeah, and yeah, Molly, obvious, you know, at the beginning and at the end is kind of like, you really get all these like bits where it's like, Christ, this is because you like, I feel like people who listen to like war stories or even have, you know, stuff in their family, they can listen to this and they really just, you know, I looked at it and I was like, I feel like I'm watching just, you know, something with World War One, like a movie, like one of those movies that would be on about it. It really connects into it, and it's like, yeah, I'm looking forward to this coming out.
So O'Neills, hello O'Neills. They're family O'Neill. So the O'Neills, the O'Neills have been kind of part of TT since day dot with Molly. So it's quite nice to be expanding the Mollyverse, so to speak, because obviously we met Charlie, Molly's eldest, in Before Vastra, and now obviously we are meeting her other son, which is Tommy. Several years down the line, I hasten to add, he is 30 by this point, but he will be appearing. The O'Neills will be coming back in later projects in TT. We're not doing stuff in order with Tommy because I like to make Matt Torrell's life confusing. So, Matt, I remember when we cast you in January when we were away, if I remember correctly. Yes, basically because you two were like cuddling, and I was like,
just one, like you turn your eyes, like, I have it.
It's like a light bulb moment.
There was a photo that was taken, and it was like, I think on the very last night, and I'm holding Otis's Matt Terrell's face, and I'm like, oh, and it was just like, that's my son.
That is mummy and son vibes, 100%. And I was like, that's got to happen, 100%. How was it playing the lead, basically, Otis?
Oh
yeah, it was the lead.
Well, it was a different sort of way to act than to what I've done before, because it's mainly been Who stuff and some stuff with some audios and supers. That's what I've done so far. It was probably the most challenging sort of acting I've done, because I've not done some sort of relationship sort of characters before, and I've never really been like a full-on lead properly yet, in this capacity at least. And I've not done a historical before either, so it was challenging. It definitely pushed me. I can feel.
I'll say
this,
I was
very nervous going into it.
You wouldn't know at all. You really smashed it.
I was really but like when I was reading it for the first time, I was like, I absolutely loved it, and I was like sort of gave a bit more confidence in like thinking I can actually pull this off. Like the monologue, I made me really like, oh bollocks, God,
now you know how I feel. Now you know how I feel, son.
Literally, O'Neill's. I'm like, I will give you a monologue.
Yeah, but like we broke through that. It went all nice and well.
Yeah.
I think what I appreciated about the script in general, at least with the war side I was in, is the camaraderie with all of the troops, and all their emotions going in. They're coming in determined. Some of them are also very afraid, but they all form some sort of like brotherhood. They joke with each other. They worry with each other, and they have this togetherness. And there's a scene with London, James, and Tommy where they all say like, your secret's safe, and I really appreciate that, because in the war you form that, and that's regardless. Like you get unity and determining to fight. We're seeing it now in Ukraine. It's so much. It's something that I really appreciated. It felt very grounded in reality, for the setting, and that's what I think I really appreciated it the most, because it felt real.
I do think one thing that kind of helped me with that is obviously I've kind of been in those sort of situations. So it was just kind of second nature trying to build that kind of like friendship, really quickly build that friendship between the lads, you know. So, Molly.
Hello.
How did it feel basically being older mammy Molly? There's the Molly, we've not really seen this Molly before. So how was it, apart from emotional?
Oh, it was brilliant to be Molly again. I love playing Molly. I love Molly as a whole, and now she's a gay ally. She supports the
She's a queer
LGBTQ+.
ally. Yes,
Her best
gay ally.
friend's Jenny.
I know exactly, but she supports, and I think it's like it's heartbreaking as well because Molly's been through a lot already, so much in like her young life to go to now. Like there, she's lost her husband. Her other sons went to the Navy. Now her son is going to war, and it's like, you know, having that moment of saying, obviously Molly saying goodbye to her son before he gets on that train is like, you know, is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But also she was just like, no, we have to have the conversation before you go. Don't be looking at any man, but if you are, you know, just be on the sly about it. You know, like one thing I appreciated about Molly is how open she is, especially for that time. And like near towards the end of the story, whenever she's talking to a character, she says God loves everyone. Like she still has like the old values that she still has. About, because she obviously grew up in Ireland, God fearing peoples, Catholic. You know, she obviously feels that, you know, it's like that whole thing of God creating you in his own image. It's like God wouldn't create you, like God loves all. God created you the way you're supposed to be. Don't be lying on who you aren't. You know, don't be who you don't want to be. You be who you want to be. God loves all his children and bloody billy jargon, whatever from the Bible. But no, I loved it. I loved the story. But one thing I really loved about this script, it's how it's a story within a story, and how you're following the story with characters that are in the story who are trying to follow the story. You know, it was very different from what we usually do. And I loved it. I loved it, just the way they, you know, reading back the letters and us like being like, right, what's going to happen next?
Yeah.
You know, so you're always waiting for that next bit, but also following the character relationship development of Michael and Anthony. So it's always good. And I play the real estate agent, which is quite fun.
How did you find, because obviously as per tradition with these behind the duvets, we now have to spend 10 minutes talking about little Matt Lyons. So how did you find, like, spoilers have already happened anyway, but how did you find doing that last scene with him, Chels?
I cried, as per usual. Nobody in the audience or nobody here is surprised or shocked that I cried. Obviously, again, spoilers, Molly loses her son in the war. She loses Tommy. She's basically lost everybody at this point. Hoo-ha.
Yeah.
So, I think just channeling that moment, like, you know, that feeling of loss, and there's just so much loss in her life.
Yeah.
And just channeling that, and then obviously Matt Lyons brings me his diary, and it's like, oh, like I just automatically get welled up with emotion when it comes to Molly. I don't know why. It's just, I've known the whole history. I've lived through the
literally, this is the girl who I showed like a flow diagram of her family tree, and she cried.
Oh, I cried at it. I also had, I think, COVID during that time, so I was like,
this doesn't really help. But
no, he's amazing. He's such an amazing wee actor. He's going to go places, and you know
Oh,
what? We'll be sitting there waving the flags and everything, like, go wee Matt Lyons.
he has
Incredible.
done a lot, and he just gets better and better every audio. But I will say this, because originally it was supposed to be somebody different. We had to do a bit of a shuffle around with cast. But London was always supposed to be 14, because you had to be 16 to join up, but he lied about his age, which is what a lot of boys did. A lot of boys did, and a lot of the army were like, well, they want to fight. I'll just pretend that they are 16, because a man's a man if he can hold a rifle. That's the way they saw it. And I say the original person who was supposed to play Matt Lyons was not 14. And Matt Lyons' character, London, was not 14. And about 3 months ago, Matt turned 14, and I was like, shall I be really cruel?
I think that is a cruel thing, because it has gone on in real life that these young boys thought that this was like the brave
it 10
thing
times
to do.
more gut-wrenching when you think that he is actually the age that some boys did try to go.
And it's mad, because like I'm sitting here listening to everybody doing, when we say that scene, you'll know when it's that scene, and it's like, can you imagine a wee boy like that going through all that, and especially what happens? It's like, it's horrifying. It's absolutely horrifying, and
it definitely pulls at the heartstrings more, knowing that he's the actual age.
It does. It really does. And but he pulled it off really well. He's an amazing wee lad. He is going to go places, and we helped him. We helped him stop.
Mention TT when you're in the
yes.
when
Remember,
you're in the lights.
remember us when your name is in lights.
So, does anybody want to add anything before we stop?
Oh, I thought it combined a lot of what it needed to be. Like the two time periods bounce off so well of each other, and you have the grounded feel in reality with the war and with the couple in modern time, and it's a story, like I've been said before, it's a story that I think is needed, because and it's important to show that it wasn't all awful then. There was good people still. Just because there's this line in one of the last scenes where they didn't keep it in official records, and that's important to recognize regardless, because there were these are probably real people that actually did have this thing sort of going on, and throughout wars in history, and
they had to hide it.
Yeah, it's a very important story, and it's going to be very impactful for everyone.
Yeah.
It's a very definition of this story really sums up that thing of this is the freedom that they were fighting for.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it doesn't shy away. It just is like, this is what it is.
This is what happened. It's not nice, but that's what happened.
It did everything a war story should do. It was reflective. It didn't undermine the horrors they went through, and it was very human story. And I think the final line as well was a beautiful note to end it on, about not hiding their pride anymore and about them being free. It was really, that was kind of brought me to tears. Really, really brilliant script.
Yes, Connor.
I think it's nice and multi-layered as well, because it has an element of, well, education, but also I like to think as well that it helps that community feel seen as well, because there's something that I think that we very much wanted to do with this was to almost like there's this scene when Michael and Anthony, for example, in modern day are having dinner, and they talk about a weird guy at work who was commenting on them about them being able to get a mortgage together, which both shows the progression made, but also the old-fashioned views that are still around to really kind of show that, like, obviously there are more people that are accepting than ever now, but there's still work to be done. We're not in a utopia yet.
No.
I think for me, I feel as a homosexual myself in real life and on screen.
Really?
Oh
I
my
know.
god, James!
I know this is my coming out video.
Oh,
Finally happening. You're coming out the closet.
I'm coming out of the trenches. So again, it's great because it's something that I can relate to, and I think a lot of queer people can relate to so much. You know, the idea that yes, we're living in modern times, and yes, it may not be illegal, or you know, we have rights and stuff like that, but there is still that hate outside in the world, and I think to show just how yes, a lot of things have changed, but there's still something.
There's still something there.
There's still something. I think that it shows that we still got a long way to go.
So that was Behind the Duvet for Hiding the Pride. I hope you enjoyed the audio. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Like over here and subscribe somewhere in here.
Like
Put things in the comments.
Yeah.
Comment.
Thank you. So there we go. So that was the cast of Hiding the Pride.
Oh dear,
Oh, I did say I was tired, to be fair.
your memory just wiped, and you're like, oh.
What's the audio that I made? What's the audio that we made?
But I remember during the Hiding the Pride premiere, I remember listening to it because again, I keep going on about it, but I can't reiterate how nervous I was in terms of what my writing was involved in this, because it was originally, again, as described, didn't start with me.
Yeah.
But I am glad that everyone who has given feedback about it has been positive about, well, at least my little contributions. So I feel like it's not really, you know, it's not a community I belong to. I'm not in that community of LGBTQ. I'm a very straight white man, which is probably a bit boring, but nonetheless, no, it just meant I wanted to get the story done right. And I remember
you did really well. Everybody did really well, to be fair. Like
that premiere ended, and I remember it ended, and then I just heard you sniffle, and I was like, oh. And then Jim was like, oh, and then Chelsea was like, oh.
It was Kath. It was Kath. Kath was just
because Kath, she'd listened to it as she was just there as an audience. Really.
Yeah, she wasn't even in it. She wasn't involved in any way, in shape or form.
She couldn't talk for 20 minutes, could she? She was just sat there crying. We were all talking about how much I think I was probably sitting there talking about how important it was for everyone. Didn't have her emotions either. She was like, oh, but no, she was just speechless for 20 minutes, and she couldn't speak. She just kept gasping for it. Yeah. It was like, and that's how I kind of knew that it went well, and it was something. If you know what I mean when I say this, but so I'm not meaning like it wasn't anyway, but it really, like, I think it quelled any anxieties that people had about it, that it was something that had an important message. It was something of importance.
You've got to think as well, especially TT's side, like 80% of us are part of the queer community.
Yeah.
So it meant a lot for us, and the fact that we got that reception.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Indeed. And I hope we were able to find sort of those sort of similar sort of stories to be able to tell, you know.
Yeah.
I think that was a great one to tell, but there were I think Hiding the Pride feels like something similar to the message and the feeling it conveys, like the series RTD made called It's a Sin.
Yeah.
I think that's what hit for everyone. I kind of had that vibe, the way that people talk about It's a Sin. Have sometimes noticed they've used the same sort of language to talk about Hiding the Pride.
Yeah.
Which, you know, that's good.
Let's say, if you haven't listened to it, please go have your tissues ready. Because a lot of love and care went into that project, and technically it was 2 years in the making.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's also connected to some continuity that's already out there.
Yeah.
It also, the beauty of it is, it doesn't have to be.
No, the thing is, Molly's in it, Molly O'Neill, and Molly has obviously been on TT. She was in before Vastra. She's had her 2 episodes for herself. She's been in Paternoster Gang, and she's going to be coming back in the Paternoster Gang stuff. But you don't need to know her continuity to listen to it.
No, that's the thing. It kind of just, but also as well as that, because you don't need to know it, and knowing history as you know, knowing the history of those times, even just having an Irish woman says a lot about the times anyway, and is kind of historically accurate anyway. Like my grandmother's mother was Irish and came over.
Yeah.
And that was in around that sort of time. It all lines up. So it still works and stands its own thing, which is really, really nice as well. And that's what's important. It's multi-layered.
Yeah.
You can listen to it as a fan of previous TT works like Pat Gang and Molly, and before Vastra even. Or you can listen to it purely in the state of it being like say, an LGBT
original.
story.
Yeah.
So yes. And yeah, I think that's the podcast, isn't it?
Yeah.
On a quick announcement, which I was thinking we were going to make at the beginning, but I think I just got distracted and went chaos mode. Next podcast will actually be our last ToverTon podcast, which is a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the reason for that is just this was very much a trial sort of format, because I've been doing the Overton Audio's podcast, and I've been doing that since the pandemic began in 2020. It's worked for me, but we were talking about trying to talk about other projects. And the podcast started off well, but it's become very obvious that people respond better to the Behind the Duvets as a singular thing.
Yeah.
And the actual sit down and chat sort of podcast thing, like this has been. So it's been a nice experiment. It's been a nice 2023 project.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But ultimately, Behind the Duvets are still coming. Like the Touched season 1 Behind the Duvet is still going to come out as a separate thing.
Yeah.
There is still a Behind the Duvet podcast. It will just continue as that singularly, as opposed to what this current setup is. But,
yeah, exactly.
And we thought, why not end it on nice Christmas cheer, nonetheless? And that is what we are doing.
Yeah.
So yes, for the penultimate time, I say farewell, and I will see you. We will both see you next month for the final ToverTon podcast.
Bye. Hopefully, I'm more awake. Bye.
Bye.